Shalom and welcome to this monthly discipleship school lesson where we are going to speak about biblical concepts. So, the reason we decided to speak about these biblical concepts is because we get questions. And this is a discipleship school. It's not just a course where we have some idea of what we want to do, but it's also a school of interaction. There's a time together personally with every disciple that requests it. And those of you who would like to have some time together, you're welcome to write to us. The schedules are getting quite full, but you're also welcome to just keep contact with us, asking questions on WhatsApp or email. And we'd love to hear from you with the discipleship type of questions. So we received quite a few questions about the meaning of certain words, certain concepts in the Bible. We were actually considering calling this teaching biblical words or Hebrew words, because the questions really came from what does this word mean in Hebrew originally, or what does this idea mean in the Bible? And so we decided to call this biblical concepts. But it's actually just a lot of Hebrew words, words that are for us foreign because it's not in our everyday life. They're very spiritual words sometimes, and it's difficult for us to make it practical. And so what I want to attempt is to teach you a little bit of Hebrew, and it's not going to be difficult. And I want to show you the biblical concepts and the meaning thereof in a very practical and easy way. So let's get going. So one of the popular things that people ask us is the difference between grace and mercy. Now, it's interesting that people ask the difference between grace and mercy because in some languages, there's just one word that is used. It's like grace is used twice. But when you look at the original Hebrew, there's definitely a grace versus a mercy. And people want to know, what is this grace and mercy? But I don't just want to stay with grace and mercy. I want to throw in a third one. And the third one connected to this is favor. Favor. So some people spell favor this way, some with a U. We're not here to learn English, right? So favor is the different concept that is also biblical, that also connects to the ideas of grace, mercy, and so on. So I want to go through the three words in Hebrew and look at them from a biblical perspective and give at least one biblical example. And then we have quite a few other examples of words that I want to go through and just have fun. So let's get going with this. The first of the biblical concepts that I'd like to discuss with you is the Hebrew word chen. So chen is a very short and fun word that we translate into English as favor. And it's translated correctly as favor, but sometimes we see in the Bible that it's incorrectly translated as grace, chen. And we obviously know some people in the Bible whose name includes this word chen, and they are not people who have grace connected to them, they have favor connected to them. So which person in the Bible has the name Chen in their name? Well, there are two people actually. The first person in the Bible is a lady. Maybe you have heard of her. Her name is Hannah. Hannah. Hannah is the Hebrew name for Hannah. And Hannah's name means literally the feminine favor. Okay? But there's also a man whose name has the word chen in there, favor in there. And that is the man we know in Hebrew as Yochanan. Yochanan. Oh, we should do it in blue, right? Yochanan must be blue. So Yochanan and Hannah don't have anything to do with grace. Their names are connected to the word favor. And it's just like you think in English, favor, meaning something that's a favorite, something that's desired, or something that is beautiful and kind. Your favorite of something. What is your favorite color? That is something that has favor with you. What did it do to receive this favor? Well, it just kind of existed. When I think of Yochanan, our friend John in the Bible, what did he do to receive this great favor from God, to be the one who is this voice in the wilderness, who is before Yeshua? What did John do? He was born. That's what he did. He just existed. And he found favor with God. He found this chen with God. You can't do something to find favor in the eyes of God. It's just, there's favor sometimes. And it's a question if everyone finds favor with God, because sometimes it seems like some do and some don't. Because favor has to do with preference, right? Well, does God prefer all people? Does he love all people equally? He loves all people for sure. But then there are things that give us indication that God almost favored certain people. And I think God's favor, and we can put it in quotations, God's favor is not just because. I think God's favor is really connected to who you are, and if you truly have a heart that seeks after him. So we see an example of this in Genesis 6, of the word chen, where God has favor for Noah. So, of course, John's favor is because of his parents, I think. Because of Elizabeth and Zechariah, we see favor that John has. Hannah has favor with God because of her heart's attitude. So having favor with God is not just falling out of the sky. He has favor on people for a reason. And then we see that God has favor, and one of the greatest favors ever is in the story of Noah. In Hebrew, we say, Hu matza chen be'ainai, in his eyes, or in ainecha, in your eyes, God. He found favor. And Noah was a special man. So in Genesis 6, verse 8, we see that Noah, very much like John, whose name means the favor of Yah, and very much like Hannah, whose name just means favor, Noah found favor with God, and God saved him and his family. But why? Just because Noah was a nice man? Well, we see in scripture that Noah was the most righteous man that ever lived, or he was the most righteous man at that stage that lived. And so, of course, he would find favor with the Almighty, with the Creator. And so this word chen becomes more clear for us, especially God's definition of chen. It is not just, oh, blue's my favorite color. No, yellow's my favorite color. Oh, green's my favorite color. No. The chen from God is not really deserved, but rather because of who you are. And it's not that you should go and say, I'm going to deserve God's favor. It's rather you should surrender to Him and say, your will, you first. That's really finding favor with God. And I think David, for instance, found favor with God because he had that heart of putting God first. So, favor is a great biblical concept, but it's not grace. So we see the translation so often saying grace, grace, grace. For instance, in Exodus 33, verse 13, Moses is praying. This is one of the great examples of favor. Exodus 33, verse 13, Moses prays and he says, now therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me your ways that I might know thee. In Hebrew, it doesn't say that. It says, Ve'ata imna matzati chen be'ainecha, hodieni na et derachecha. Show me your ways. So favor is something that is not mercy. It's not grace. It's a favoritism almost, if I may use the word, that God gives to certain people because of the condition of their heart and because they are so humble before Him. So it sounds so wrong to say that the Almighty has favorites. It does, right? But somehow in Scripture, there is favor on some people because of their attitude. And it seems undeservingly when we look in Scripture, but still, I think somehow they deserve the favor that rests on their lives.